Hi, my name is CJ and this is my RC channel. In this video, I'm going to be modifying the UMX Radian. Now, if you've watched part 1 and part 2, you know that this is a nice little plane. If you've seen part 2, you know it flies very nicely, even in some pretty strong winds. But one of the things I noticed in those strong winds is that it gets kicked around a lot and the wing has a lot of flex. And as you can see, I mean, it really can get twisted and buffeted. So A, I want to stiffen it. B, I want to add some wingspan to this airplane. Now right now it's 750 millimeters or 75 centimeters. And as I mentioned in the first video, every part of this plane can be bought separately in the event you need to do repairs. So I ordered a replacement wing for, I believe it was $22. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to take the stock wing, I'm going to remove this little plastic piece right here, and I'm going to cut that wing in half, including the carbon fiber rod. Then I'm going to take some carbon fiber slats, about 1 millimeter thick and about 3 to 4 millimeters height, depends on how big my cross section is when I cut the wing. And I'm going to cut this wing at the ends of the carbon fiber rod, which will give me 30 more centimeters or 300 more millimeters. I'll slat the wing right behind this carbon fiber rod, put in a vertical standing carbon fiber slat, and I'll make that long enough that it'll be 60 millimeters, so it will go through here and protrude 15 centimeters on either side. When I take the stock wing, cut it in half, I'll slot that wing behind the same carbon fiber stiffener and sink in that slat, gluing the two halves to the outside of these, thus lengthening the wing to 1 meter 5 centimeters. So that will stiffen the wing, and I may do a second thin slat toward the rear of the ring, take it all the way out to where the wing starts to curve. That'll stiffen things up a good bit, and it will lengthen the wing a nice bit. It'll still be very easy to transport. When I took this to the field to fly for video number 2, I just tossed it on the passenger seat. It's so small, it wasn't a problem at all. And with that extra bit of wingspan, it still is going to be just as easy to transport. But I think it's going to really hang nicely. In fact, it may even be necessary to add a little bit of ballast on breezier days, because as you've seen in video number 2, once you cut the power, if you've got a nice bit of headwind, the glider just hovers there. So this should be very interesting. It's a low budget modification, a couple carbon fiber slats, a $22 wing, and you're getting almost a what, 30 to 40% increase in wingspan. So it should look really nice too. Another thing I'm going to do is these little pieces of sticky tape don't stay on too good. When I'm putting this back together, I'm going to add a little bit of thin CA to the edges of these and let them dry thoroughly so that the hook and loop part stays attached to the appropriate surfaces. I don't want those peeling back out. I did add, as you can see, extra hook tape so that I can move the battery around to adjust my center of gravity, and it really works well with the regular piece of loop tape here on the battery. It lets me slide the battery around over a decent range and really have it anchored tight. I had no fear these were going to fall out of the plane. So just to make sure that these stay in, I'm going to give them a wee bit of glue. And I'll use a foam safe CA for that. So first step is going to be removing the wing. And then I'm going to cut this wing in half and cut the wing tips off of the second wing. And nice thing, the spare wing comes with several extra screws, and I think it comes with some extra hook and loop as well. So that's gonna give me several spares. Again, as I mentioned in the first video, I'm probably just going to leave the wing screwed into the fuselage all the time. I thought about keeping the box as a means of transporting this, but now that I'm modifying the wing, there's no point. It wouldn't fit, and even then, I don't think it's really worth it. The box is just huge compared to the airplane. It's easier just to keep the airplane in pieces. Now, if you recall, I mentioned possibly covering this with some film, and once I cut off these wingtips, I'm going to have several pieces of foam that I can use for testing. So I will be testing to see if I can cover this and get rid of these terrible stickers. They just, keep bubbling up, and I like having the black stripes on the bottom. It makes it much easier to orient the plane. I would do a different design though. I would do like a large black section on one and then like 3 stripes on the other side. It makes it easy to tell the left side from the right side. It just helps orient. So first thing I'm going to do is get out a triangle and cut the wing right here. And I'm going to need this to cut the little carbon fiber rod on the wing when I'm cutting it in half. So this one, I'm going to leave this piece in here because I'll need that plastic piece. So there's one wing section cut, and I've got several pieces of carbon fiber slat here. This one is obviously going to be too big. There isn't enough of a cross section here. This one looks like it will do fine. So I'll just cut a seam in there and press the carbon fiber rod in place and then glue it down. Now, in theory, I could have maybe gone an extra inch or two, but because I could, in theory, go until the wing starts to taper. So I could have gone to here, but the wing is already starting to curve at that point. So I'd be making the joint after the curve, which would make doing this slat difficult. I want it to be flat all the way through here so that this can, you know, having that vertically instead of horizontal, instead of flat, is going to make for a lot more strength to the wing, you know, as far as its ability to bow. It'll still be able to bow at the wing tips, but if I can do some covering, that'll make it even stiffer. It will add a little more weight, but with the added airfoil that I'm buying, I think it's worth it. In theory, I could, well, I don't know. I don't know if there's an extra servo port. I might open this up. I could put a micro servo in here and do a flap all the way across here. And I'm not sure that's really necessary, but okay, so now I want to pull up this tape here. So now, to make things clean, what I'll probably do is cut on either side of those holes. So I'll lose about 4 or 5 millimeters off of this wing, but no big deal when I'm adding on as much as I am. So first, I wonder, does that carbon rod come out? And I'm going to check on this wing first. No, it's glued in for sure. Good. Okay. So I need something to put under here. nice and clean. So there we go. Those are going to go together very nicely. Trying to decide if I should go with the slightly shorter one. I think I'm going to go with the longer one. So I need basically 60 centimeters. Let's see. So that is about 26. I mean, sorry, 29. Well, 296 millimeters. I should be writing that down. .296 millimeters. It's knocking everything over. .144. And it should be the same for the other side, but I'm going to measure just in case. Yeah. So 288. So 594, excuse me, 84 millimeters is how long I need the carbon fiber rod to be. That little hair I'm going to cut with a blade. There we go. Definitely don't want to get that carbon residue on my hands. In fact, I should probably go, now that I've cut a couple things, I should go wash my hands. Got some rolled up tape here. Use that to catch the carbon. Okay, I removed the tape from there. I'm removing these taped stripes. And then again, removing this piece of tape across the carbon rod. This one is taking that piece with it, so convenient. Now, I changed my mind about the thinner piece, and I went with the taller one, or thicker one, depending on how you want to describe it. So just to give you the measurement here, we are talking about 4 by 1, and the length on this is 584. So I'm gonna need to make some marks, and a silver Sharpie is a great one for doing that. So I should make a mark at half, and I should make a mark at 144 and 144 just to get my edges. That'll help line things up. Let me get something that's a little better, clear to read. So 144. Okay, that Sharpie is not very good. This is much better, as you can see from the nice marks. So again, 144. So that gives me my 2 outer marks, more or less. And looks like I've got 583, not 584. That's just such as it is when you're cutting stuff sometimes. It's almost 584, but let's see how that works. If I put that over the hole. A little bit off. So there we go. That puts us right at the ballpark, more or less. So now, the fun part, cutting the wing. Now the question is, how far down do I cut? I could literally just cut straight through and seam the wing together, because it's not a convex wing. It's pretty much a flat bottom airfoil. It's got a little bit of a curvature, but it's not convex and it's not symmetrical. So it should be easy enough to join it together. I'm going to see if I can cut partway through and slide this into the cut without deforming the wing too much. The problem is that this is only a millimeter thick, but it's still a millimeter, and so the blade isn't gonna remove any material. I could use a saw, but I might end up taking too much. So I think I'll start with the blade and go from there. Sorry guys, I want to do this on camera for you, but I don't want to cut through the plastic I just laid down here. I'll just do it up this way. Let me slide the camera up a little bit. I think I know what I'm going to do. I'm going to put in a couple of pins. I need some thin ones. I know there's some in here. Wait a minute. Okay, those are all thin. Getting there. Let's try doing a little sawing. See, things I need to saw almost all the way through. Okay, now I need something firm under here. This should do. this is a bit of a gamble. Just making sure this wasn't liquid. I mean, that it was liquid, that it hadn't turned solid on me along the way. Okay, let's leave that for a while. And when I come back at that, I should be able to simply saw straight through the wing, since I think I'm going to go ahead and cover this stuff. Go right through here along the edge, just like I did on this. Fill it with glue, brace it down, let it cure, set to go. And of course, glue along this edge here. And it shouldn't need any further reinforcement. Now, while I'm waiting on this, I am going to experiment with these pieces of foam here, these wingtips. All right, just adjusting the camera. So I need to rummage up my iron and covering, and I need to experiment on these with temperature. I'll also do some an online search and see what temperature what Google says it can handle, or whatever hobby place I can find, and then I'll peel these stickers off and talk about color choices. Do you find these videos to be helpful, useful to you? Then please help me keep this channel going by donating. Click the link up here and you can donate safely through PayPal on either a one-time or a monthly basis, your choice. Okay, everything is proceeding. I did some tests. I am using Hanger 9 Ultra Coat Park Light. Park Light is one of the lightest coverings out there. The next, or I forget which one's like a fraction of a gram lighter, Aura Cover. The only downside to Aura Cover is it's harder to get than even this stuff is. This can be gotten through Horizon Hobbies, so it's a lot easier to get in the United States, whereas Aura Cover is a European made product. I believe it's made in Germany. So a fraction of a gram lighter. They both have good colors, solids and transparents. They're both a little hard to work with, harder than like monocoat, because it's extra thin and it wants to stick to itself. If you give it a chance, it'll like crinkle up on itself, it'll wrinkle and crease into itself and stick, and you end up throwing away pieces of it. So especially when you've got like curved surfaces like this. Now, no melting. Was keeping my iron at about 200 degrees. So, and this is not like digital. I really need to get a good digital one. What I've been doing is just checking the temperature with this, 201 degrees, and tweaking the dial on it until I got it right. You know, as you can see, it does put a nice cover on here. It's a lot of texture because of the foam, but I think that's going to be better than not, and just having bare foam. It'll take some of the flex out. I'm going to cover it top and bottom. I'm probably going to use orange on top, mostly white on the underside, with sections of black. I'll probably do a large black section on one side of the wing, and then a series of 3 or 4 inch and a half wide stripes on the opposite side, doesn't matter which side, just so that left and right are easily, you know, easy to see one from the other. And being able to pick your plane out against the sky is always a good thing. That's one of the reasons I kind of go for bright colors. I stay away from blues and greens. Greens are going to blend into the background if you get down into the trees. Blues are going to, of course, you know, disappear into the sky, and so does straight white if you got cloud cover. So, you know, and even dark colors, you know, like this nice dark blue, you know, if you got low light and you're down, like if there's a tree line and the plane's in between you and the tree line, the shadows in the evening can, you know, hide a plane. So, you know, whereas a bright orange color covering job, you're going to see that. So just things to think about. I'm probably going to do a combination on the upper side of these two colors, mostly orange with some of this dark blue purplish color thrown in for some accents, maybe some striping, a couple triangles, something, I don't know, working on it. So, but I think the center section is dried. I'm taking my time with this, making sure it's right, because I don't want to have to order another wing. I mean, if I screw it up, worst case scenario, I got to buy 2 wings at $40. I mean, it's almost half the cost of the plane to begin with, so I don't want to do that, but it wouldn't be a horrible expense. Okay, that is too bad. I've melted this wing a little bit right here. I used some zip kicker because the Zappo Phone Safe CA was just not drying. I don't know if it's been sitting on the shelf too long, but I'd let it sit for like 2.5 hours, almost 3 hours, and it wasn't even slightly starting to cure. So what I'll probably do is put some covering, or start with some tape and cover this, and if I think it's a problem, I'll just go ahead and get another one of these at $22, but I think it will survive. So could be better, but I almost wish what I had done is used epoxy, even like a 30-minute. I've got 5 and 30 and 15. 5 would have been a little too fast to, you know, make sure I did it right. You know, I wanted to make it light, so I went with the CA, and it bit me in the ass. And then I tried to salvage it with the kicker, and that really bit me. But it's dry now, and so the foam isn't going to degrade any further. I don't want to try to fill it with anything, because then I'll just be adding more and more weight. But I think if I stretch some tape across here, I can kind of fill that space. So I'm going to tinker with it. Go ahead and pause up for a few. Okay, what I did was I used a razor saw to cut behind the small carbon spar. It's like maybe 1.5 millimeters at most. I think it's just a 1 millimeter carbon rod. It really doesn't provide that much structural strength to the wing, so the wing is, it has a lot of movement in it, and that can help the plane get buffeted around, because you're getting changes in the wing's angle of attack, especially out at the wing tips. This is making the wing much more stable. I've already glued one half, the other half is drying right now. The center section, I was able to recover it even though it got a little melted. What I did was I mixed a little bit of epoxy with an awful lot of micro balloons to make a really light putty, and filled in those areas that had gotten deformed. It is adding a little bit of weight, but I think I can live with that. And you know, if it doesn't work out, this was an experiment. I can always order another pair of wings and run this process again. But as you can see, it's looking good. This side over here is, like I said, is already done, and it is considerably stiffer. I think it's going to make a big difference. I'm going to apply some covering. I've worked that issue out. The temperature of the covering that I'm using, Aura cover, I'm using Parklite. Parklite is one of the lightest films out there, and its working point, the adhesion point, temperature-wise, is below the melting point for the foam. So it goes on without a problem. I think I showed this earlier. I did a test on one of the wingtips just to see how it went. Not a perfect job of covering, but it is hard to get large sheets covering, big sheets of foam like this without any imperfections. What's important is the structural strength that it will add. So that'll also help reduce wing flex just caused by gusting and buffeting wind. So I think the plane is going to penetrate a little better because that little bit of extra weight will help overall ballast. At the same time, the added lifting surfaces, I think, will more than compensate for the very small amount of weight that's been added overall. So it's going to be interesting to see how this flies. Hopefully I'll be able to take it out tomorrow and put a video up directly for you guys to see the improvement, or at least the change. So hopefully it's an improvement. We'll see. So it is finished, and let me see if I can go wide here. Yeah, I'm just not going to be able to fit the whole plane in all at once because the wingspan is now so big. But it looks great. Did the underside differently on either side. Some slightly different striping just to differentiate and make it easy to pick out in the sky. So it's ready to go. If the sun is shining tomorrow, I'm going to take it out. If not, the next day.
I hope you enjoyed this video. Please click like and please subscribe to my channel. If you click the bell icon, you'll receive notifications every time I launch a new video. Thank you for watching.